now, it's George Russell out. Okay, never mind. Hello, people, welcome back. So here we are, one more setup, one more day in F122, and this time we are at Imola. And yes, I am the drive. I am the driving. I'm driving the Williams, not because I want to do a George Russell impersonation, but I chose this car in my league. So here we go. Let's get something different going on this time around, and let's see how we actually take this lap and teach you a bit of how to, well, sort of get a good lap here in Imola. By no means I'm the best around, but you can see somewhat of the right lines you want to take. There are some corners where you can take differing lines. Maybe when you're following someone, you can take those alternate lines to get better exits. If you're going for a hot lap, most of the time you just want to yeet it into the corner to gain some time. And the setup that I'm using is somewhat of a higher downforce than the one in time trial. As you can see, there's not much difference in it. It's all about carrying the momentum into these corners here in Imola. It's corner after corner and it's like sequential, so if you say, for example, turn one, the temporal chicane where we're coming up, if you miss turn one, you're gonna pretty much miss turn 2 and turn 3. You're gonna lose about a tenth or two even. If you nail turn 1, there's also the risk of making sure you do not hit the sausage curve on the inside and also the sausage curve on the right hander, which is turn 2. It's always a risk and reward thing. But what's more important is you want to make sure that you carry the momentum even if you are slightly compromised on the entry. Make sure you're not running over a sausage curve or anything. Just make sure your car is pointed in the right direction, and somehow the car just responds with a good setup that you're comfortable with. Let's quickly have a look at let me just go to the garage and save the setup real quick and show it to you what it is. Let's save it first. Okay, so setup that I'm running here, it's a 27 front wing, 22 rear wing. I'd say it's quite a mid-high downforce, mid-ish downforce circuit here. Imola, there's only really one overtaking opportunity, that is the entire pit straight, which is pretty long. And to make sure you get even a chance of overtaking, you need to get a good exit out of the Rivazza 2, which is the last corner. And Rivazza 1 as well, it's important to nail it. You do not overshoot the braking so that you get a good line into Rivazza 1, and then you get a better line into Rivazza 2. And with DRS, you can make an overtake quite easily around here. Of course, do not go and spam your battery in lap 1 itself. You have nothing to defend with the rest of the race. Now, I haven't really tried this in the race. What I did was a league practice with another guy who had a league race in Imola. So I ran a little bit lower aero. I ran, I think, something like this or this, somewhere around this region. So basically just about 3 to 4 clicks lower than what I'm running over here. It's almost similar to the world record setup. So let's just have a look at the world record setup over here, which is well, by Ron Ha, of course, none other than him. And let's see, so the world record setup is 25-19 wing, so I've just gone slightly higher on the downforce because it is quite snappy of a setup for my liking. I can't handle that much snappiness, but I like it. The pointiness is there, but it's just that the rear is not stable, hence why you can see I'm running slightly higher wings. Right now, let's actually just have a look at what the world record setup is doing and why they're doing it. 52 off throttle here is to make sure the rear of the car when you are coasting and also when you're braking, especially, so braking and or coasting, it makes sure the rear of the car it's not sliding too much, because there's a lot of high-speed corners around here. And if you lose your car in this high speed, it's even harder to save. If you lose your car in low speed corners, say something like a hairpin or something, it's so much easier to correct and catch the car. But in high speed, you need that stability. You want to make sure the car is doing the work for you instead of you doing the work for it. So 52 off throttle is why it's being done. 55 on throttle, that's pretty much standard around everywhere. And the other key difference that you'll see between this world record setup and my personal setup, English, is the suspension setup over here. I am running higher running 11.7 here. There's a reason for it. And also the front suspension, it's all the way up to 11. Front roll bar is also all the way up to 11. Reason being is because it provides a good amount of stability in high speed and predictability, and also when coming out of corners, it's so much more blunted. By stiffening the fronts, you also help your rears to get better traction on exits. So that's one way you can counter it. Of course, it comes with the risk of, if you are able to deal with that extra understeer. If the setup is naturally too oversteery for you, this is going to help. But if you feel the setup is already understeery, then you can probably go with low wings, or you can increase the front wing to get that front end grip. Now, everything else, tire pressures, maximum in time trial, don't bother that. If you're going for faster slaps, of course, just use this and set it in time trial. But in an actual league race or even a career mode situation, you're gonna need something more drivable throughout the race. So let's like as you can see, I'm just quite a way off from my mates around here, but here you go. 27, 22, just nice for me. I did contemplate running 28, was somewhat doable, but I just settled for 27. It is time trial after all, doesn't matter. In the actual race or qualifying, you can go one click higher, especially when you start on hards or mediums and you have a full tank of fuel. You will need that extra front end grip, because one thing, heavier car means it's sluggish, so the front will not turn in as much as you want. So having extra front wing, 1 or 2 clicks at the start of the race is always beneficial. Once you go into the pits, drop it by 1 or 2 clicks back to the original level. Your setup should be good to go. Transmission, again, I'm running the same thing, no difference here. Suspension geometry, always the same, right, left. Although if you really want to find like very specific tens, not even tens, maybe like hundreds and thousands, you can customize this to find a little bit more lap time, or perhaps for qualifying, if say you're running with park ferme off for your races, then you can always go for a qualifying ish setup. You can run slightly more toe, more camber and all that stuff to get a bit more time in the corners. There you go. So this is my suspension setup. I'm kind of liking this 11-1 11-1 setup pretty much across all tracks, but I'll say the caveat here is that this is really helpful in a track where there's a lot of high speed corners and a lot of like high speed exits and all that. It's definitely helpful. If you go to a track where there's a lot of slow exits, say somewhere like Baku, which is probably the most notorious one, it has this most number of slow corners and a lot of sharp turn-ins, sharp corners, 90 degrees and all that, slow sharp corners. You will want to run something lower, and I always recommend starting off at 6.1. High speed tracks like this, Silverstone, you want to make sure your car is stable in high speed, go for this, you should be fine. And ride height, again, running maximum on the front ride height, it's just to increase straight line speed. The higher you go on the front, the higher your straight line speed is. At the same time, this introduces a bit of understeer into the car, but thankfully in this game, 1 or 2 clicks of every click of ride height on the front does not feel that understeery, so you can get away with this. And since this is naturally going to induce oversteer, no, not oversteer, naturally going to induce a bit of understeer in the car and increase your straight line speed, you can also reduce your rear wing so that you get better straight line speed and you get better turning as well. So it's a win-win situation over here. Of course, when you want to take the curbs around here, it's also helpful. You're not going to be like mounting all the curbs, like going over it like in Monza or something, but it always helps in case you go over it by accident or you have to go side by side with someone. You can be safe by running slightly higher. Rear ride height, from my testing, it doesn't affect the straight line speed that much as it did last year. So the good thing is, although the default was a 5 in the world record setup, you can run slightly higher. The reason being is on high speed corners, when you're changing direction in high speed, especially when you're going up at Piratella, right? It's a fast uphill left and then downhill left. On turning, especially when you throw the car into a corner, it will stick due to the extra ride height on the rear. that will make sure the rear is not bottoming out. Also on acceleration at high speed, having slightly higher ride height will be beneficial, but at slower speed you want something lower so that you get a better the car sits lower to the ground. That's going to increase your downforce generated on the rear. However, as you know, if you carry enough momentum into and out of the corner with these ground effect cars, you will have a lot of downforce already generated. Hence why you can always drop the wings, drop the rear wing, drop the front wing, run lower downforce, and still be equally quick. However, tire wear can be an issue around here in Imola, and you can lose a lot of time if you have worn tires. Now this is slightly conservative setup over here. I have not tried this for my own race just yet. Like I said, the one that I tried on my friend, it's definitely something lower, and it is definitely viable. One stop is easy. You can take the mediums from like pretty much 20-25 laps if you're smooth with it. High downforce is going to guarantee you are able to do a one stop and be quick towards like the middle to the end part of each stint. What else you want to see here? Your brake pressure is always the same, no difference to this. I will say though, 51 brake bias is somewhat underrated. You can use this perhaps in a qualifying run, maybe into some corners where you feel like the rear might step out, say Variante Alta, which is the last chicane, the one you have to go over the curbs. Sometimes I like to use 51 around that corner, even in the previous game, just because I don't want the rear of my car to step out. That means to have an oversteer while I'm entering the corner, so it makes sure that I can get a correct line in and out of the corner. Also, again, it's personal preference, but in the race, say for some reason your rears are wearing out more than the fronts, you can always push the brake bias forward. That will help with your rear tire temps and also the rear tire wear. Tire pressure. So this is where again, ever since I don't know whatever patch it was that fixed all the tire temperatures, you have to run as low as possible without exceeding 100 degrees Celsius while you're racing. Again, my recommendation is always during a practice session, if you're in the hottest condition, which is the clear weather, load up the full race fuel load. Say Imola has 32 laps in a 50% race, so take 32 laps of fuel, take your hard tires, start off with this level of pressures, and then just race as if you are in a race session. If your temperatures are ranging around 93, 94, 95 on the hard tires on full race fuel, I would say that is a perfect temperature range. Okay, and because as soon as you go onto the mediums, naturally they're gonna get hotter due to it being a softer compound, right? So the mediums might be around 95, 96. You'll be okay. Try not to exceed 97 or 98. That's where you'll start to feel the grip start going off little by little, but it's really when you hit 100, that's where it's like point of no return. So take note on that. And also, coming to the tire pressures again, higher tire pressures will give you better tire life. Lower pressures means less tire life. This is excluding your driving style, your wing levels and all that. Okay, and another thing to note for tire pressures, for qualifying, you can get away with running maybe one click higher or 2 clicks higher overall. This will give you a better response in high speed especially, and this will make sure you can control the car, and in high speed you do not lose the car. Again, if in the race, let's say if it's starting off sunny, clear weather, just the sun, you can stick with these pressures. If it is cloudy, there's a sun and a cloud over it, that's a cloudy weather, you can get away with one extra click of pressures. This will be beneficial as well because your tires will get up to temperature quicker once you make a pit stop. And let's say if it's fully overcast, just for some odd reason the entire race is fully overcast, you can go another click higher. Again, it depends on what baseline that you're comfortable with. If let's say you're comfortable with this on the hard tires on full race fuel, then you can only go one click at a time depending on the clouds. So that's my little tip that you can always use in your league races, your career mode races, or even just if you're just going for 5 lappers. It always works. All right, And yeah, let's recap the setup real quick. 27, 22 is what I'm running here, and mainly because I want to look after my tires even more. There's only one DRS straight around here, so it makes it even more important to be able to keep up the momentum in the momentum in the corner and follow people quite closely throughout sector 2 and sector 3. And once you reach the pit straight, with the DRS alone, you can make up quite a lot of time. And with your battery, if you saved up enough, you can spam the battery, make the overtake, and then just deploy the whole lap. You are most likely going to pull out of your DRS range, so be tactical about it. And yeah, everything else as you see as it is: 11.1, 11.1, 11.7. Again, if you have a bit of understeer in the car, say if you want to stick with this, this suspension, you have a bit of understeer. There's two options. You can go low on the rear wing, okay, provided you do not feel that the car is going to slide even more, that's okay. Or you can go more on the front wing. So generally, if you increase both wings by one click, you're going to lose 1 kph on the straight. Similarly, if you reduce by 1, you're going to gain about 1 kph on the straight. If you go, say about 3 or 4 clicks lower, you're probably going to gain 3 or 4 kph down the pit straight, but you may lose a lot of time, maybe a tenth or two in sector 2 and sector 3. Depends on your preference as well. If you're able to handle a lower downforce setup, go for it. That will be much more beneficial. All right, so here you go. This is the baseline. You can always try this out: 27, 22, 55, 52. Suspension geometry: right, left, no questions about it. Suspension: 11.1 suspension, 11.1 on the roll bars, and 11.7 on the right height. Brakes: 150 as always. Tire pressures: start off with minimum on the fronts, and for the rears, somewhere around 2 or 3 clicks will do just fine. And strategy is always a hard to mediums or mediums to hard around here. If you're experiencing a bit of mixed weather race, say if it's going to be raining and then dry, it depends how long the rain is. If it's going to be raining for majority of the race at the start, I'd say go for a wet-ish setup, so maybe just 2 clicks higher or 3 clicks higher on the downforce. This also looks after your tires even better in the rain. And if it's starting off dry, and for the majority of the start it's dry, stick with a dry setup. The idea here is you want to be fast in a stint where you're spending majority of your race time. Other than that, if you're feeling like you want to YOLO it with a very low downforce, you can go -10 on each and try that out. But I can guarantee you, on the straights it's going to be a bullet. In the corners you will have to manage it, and if you can manage it, you will succeed. So yep, that's going to be it for Imola. It's short and sweet. Now let's just finish it off with the track that I was telling you real quick. And let's see, let's go to the fastest lap that we did. Quite a lot of laps there. Not much left in the best lap that I could do. Only a 10th, as you can see, to improve. But again, time trial, I'm not really bothered about setting the world best time. It's all about being quick in the race. So let's play our fastest lap. And as you can see, let's get rid of this. Alright, now you can see coming out of the last corner, usually you want to be taking the same line that you're doing when you're ending your lap. And I'll come to that as well at the end of this lap, how to start a lap. Now that the replay is already showing us on the pit straight, let's just go here. If you want to gain a few more thousands, you can always go a bit to the left and then cut back into the right, but you're probably only going to gain about 4 or 5 thousands. Unless it's that close in your league, then you might want to go for it. Otherwise, stay straight, you should be good. DRS as soon as you can. Stay to the right here, as close as you can to the wall, obviously without hitting it, and then keep going forward. Stay as close as left as possible as you can, and take a bit of this curb if you can, or just stay very close to it on the white line. You will gain a few thousands here, and then bring your car back to the right. And here you want to be braking as soon as the curb starts, so it's a good reference point here if you're not using braking lines like I am. So you brake as the curb starts. I like to brake into the corner a bit without going too far into the grass. And let me show you that in a slow motion here from the rear chase cam. So I like to brake into the corner just so I can lengthen my braking zone, and then you know, make sure your tires are not dipping into the grass. If you dip your tires into the grass, you're going to be losing a lot of momentum into the next corner. You will understeer into the next corner, or you might even spin out because well, that's how it works. And into the first corner, you want to not touch the sausage curb. If you know you have a setup that can do it, or you're confident taking it, you can do so. But the way I tried it, I'm losing about a tenth if I take the sausage curb, so it's faster for me to avoid the sausage curb, and it's also going to be more consistent in the race. Take the curb just a little bit, not too much. You can mount it a bit, and then as soon as you're past that apex here, let's go on to the cam over here again. You want to power out as fast as you can, but not 100%. All right, take a look back at the start of the video, my inputs, and then you can see how they translate to what I'm trying to do over here. So it's about 50 to 75% throttle. Keep the steering straight, and then you can take a bit of this curb here, but you have to make sure your steering is as straight as you can get, you know. So as soon as you hit the curb, make sure your steering is straight. Let the car run wide on exit. If you're going to touch this curb, you have to make sure your car is perfectly straight. If your car is still turning, you accelerate on one wheel, it can be dangerous. Now as you hit this apex, the next left turn comes up real quick. Just flick the car in, let the car run wide on the exit again, make use of the full track width, and then just keep it straight till the Villeneuve chicane over here. For the Villeneuve chicane in qualifying, you can usually, again, like I said, I like to brake into the corner. It's somewhat of a you know, GT line, ACC line, which I've picked up. I don't know if how useful that is in an F1 car, but it's just some habit that I've built up. It seems to help, at least for me. Now brake at 50. Make sure again to not dip your tires into the grass. I slightly did, but you know, I've already completed braking by then. So you brake at 50, or you can even just lift off at 50 and throw the car in. As soon as you hit the apex here, again, avoid the sausage. You want to be somewhat straight like this. You know, when you are at this point of the track, you want to be making sure that your car is parallel with the track, and then brake down to 5th gear or 6th gear, whichever your preference. You can even go down to 4th. I like to carry more speed, so maybe 5th and 6th will do better. And then turn into the corner here, as you can see from the inputs here. You can take a bit of the curb. Again, avoid that yellow sausage curb, because the moment you touch that, it's going to send your car to Narnia. And again, let the car run wide. It's a common theme around here. Let the car run wide on exit, and make use of the full track width here. And then down into Tosa hairpin, the end of sector 1. You brake just about here where the, you know, the escape road starts here, and try not to use the 50-meter board, because that can be smashed out by someone. So using this black box on the right, or this black patch of road, is a better reference. And then brake when the curb starts, or just not the curb, just after the escape road starts. And then I like to shift down quite slowly here. Let's just go on the cockpit camera, as you can see. And I like to brake down to 5th first, and then in the mid corner downshift to 4th. Reason being, so I want to keep the rear a bit stable on entry. If I shift down to 4th, I do feel that the rear is stepping out a lot, and I can't be as precise as I want at the apex. Now I let the car turn in. As soon as I feel like, you know, I'm done turning, I power as much as I can, about 50% out of the corner, and let the car run wide again. But crucially, you do not want to be running on the sausage, on that ripple strip, you know, that zigzaggy thingy. You can use it, but make sure you're not putting your whole car on it. So yeah, like this is still acceptable. I like to accelerate in 4th coming out of the hairpin. Gives a better momentum. But in the race, you can always use 5th, especially if you're following someone. You do not want to be stressing on your rear tires on acceleration. Power down all the way. Stick to the right here, and then here comes Piratella, and Piratella again another tricky corner where you can cut and gain time, you know, and also gain penalties if you exceed the track limits. So roughly around 50 meters is where you want to brake, but here's the important thing: you may lose the reference here. The only reference that you have is this black box on the top right. So you know, you have to somewhat mentally condition yourself before the black box starts. You wanna, you know, or just as you approach the black box, depending on your POV, you brake, just slightly tap on the brakes, and then throw the car into the corner in 5th gear or 6th gear. Either way is okay. And then as soon, again, avoid the sausage. As soon as you take the corner, power out immediately. Make sure you're putting down some power to maintain the momentum, and then again run wide, let the car go wide, and bring it back to the left. Next corner here, you wanna take this this curb here to open up your entry into Aqua Minerale here. This is probably, I would say, one or two of the most critical corners. This and the next chicane that's coming up usually lose a lot of time around here. So make sure you take this curb to open up your entry. In qualifying, I like to keep it flat till here, and then as soon as I pass the end of this curve on the right, that's why I brake. But I'm not gonna full brake, I'm just gonna trail brake into the corner, so somehow about 50% brake, and then let the car enter the left side, and then cut back in. And then as soon as I get the car turned in again, you can power out of the corner, but slowly and steadily. You don't want to go 100% immediately. You can try that out. It may work, may not work for you. But if you apply the throttle gently and progressively, you will not spin out here. So around this point, you're already full throttle. Let the car run wide again. Keep your steering straight, because if you're turning a lot while accelerating, that will spin out your car. All the way down, this is the end of sector 2. Again, here you want to open up the entry into the chicane, so take the curb, avoid the curb, of course, avoid it in the wets. You can spin out so easily. Brake on the road if you need to, but in the dries, take the curb as much as you can. I think I definitely missed a bit there. I could be a little more, maybe a few inches there, but this is as close as I can get. And then brake at 50. Again, I like to delay my last downshift around here, so I go 5th and then take the entire curb, as you can see here, as much as you can. You can even take even more than this, but yeah, it's as much as I could do. And then 5th, you can even take the entire corner in 5th. That's even possible if you carry enough momentum, or you can downshift to 4th. And then on the exit here, I did run a little bit wide here. I took the these zigzag curves, and that ruined my momentum a little bit. But if you get this right, you will gain like another 10th easily. So ideally, you want to be a bit more to the left here. And then again, power down, stick to the left, and then bring back the car somewhat to the right, just to gain the few thousandths. Shift up to 8. You don't want to be losing any thousandths there. And then you brake around 75 meters here, or just before you arrive at the black box. So in your peripheral region, you see the black box, you brake. Or if you're lucky, the 100-meter board is still there, you can brake right after that. And then shift down to 4th. You want to avoid taking the curb as much as I did, because this did lose me time, as you saw in my hot lap attempt there. You want to be missing this slightly. You can take that Italian painted curb, but avoid these big inside green curb. And on the exit, let the car run wide again, but keep it with the track limits, as you can see, like just about on the limits there. 5th gear here, and then into the next corner, flick it in. Make sure you hit the apex so that it opens up the exit. Again, avoid the sausage on the inside, and then let the car run wide as you're planting the throttle, as you're opening up the steering. Let the car run wide, straighten up the exit, and then go down the straight. Stick to the right, and then you'll gain a bit more time. That's a lap of Imola. That's a setup for you as well, and hope you had fun in this. Try it out, and let me know how that worked out. Let me know in the comments. How do you feel about this comment? How do you feel about this comment? How do you feel about this setup? And I will see you in the next one. It's probably going to be either Spain or Miami, whichever comes up next in my list of setups that I feel I want to do. Anyway, stay safe, and I will see y'all in the next one.